Question letter D has a couple of different ways you can answer it, just like we talked about previously in question A, part 2. Question D is asking about a family driving on a road trip where they first drive on the first leg 100 miles. Then on the second leg, they drive 150 miles. Then on the third leg, they drive 200 miles, and so on and so forth. Now, the pattern probably would be pretty clear to us. It seems like they're adding 50 miles for every leg of the trip. So it wouldn't be hard to figure out how the rest of the pattern goes. The question itself says the trip consists of 15 legs. So it's up to you how you want to do this. You could either keep going with the pattern and just keep writing 250, 300, 350, 400, 450, 500, etc. until you get to the 15th term, which is a fine strategy. You're welcome to write it out. It's probably just a little time consuming, not very mentally difficult. The problem is, for those of us who don't want to write it all out, it's a relatively tall task. So the other way we can think of this is as an arithmetic series, just like part 2 in question A or question B that we already talked about. Now, the reason we know it's arithmetic is because we're adding 50 miles every time, and we know it's finite because they're only talking about 15 legs. So this formula would be perfect for us. Now, the only thing that might be tricky is, for the formula, we need to know the last term. So if you're going to use the formula, you will have to figure out what the value at n equals 15 is. Now, again, you might be convinced at this point that it's easier to just write out all the terms, which would be completely fine. But if you did want to find the last term, the easiest way to go without having to fill out all the other terms is to just write a quick formula so that you can plug in 15 and quickly get the answer there. So if I write a quick formula, knowing that the initial value was the term before the first one, then I do know that since I'm adding 50, the initial value must have been 50. So a quick formula would be 50 plus 50n. 50 for the initial value plus 50 for the adder. So if I need to know what's happening on the 15th leg, I can just plug in 15 for n. That would be 50 times 15, which is 750, plus 50, which is 800. So excellent. I know how many now is going to be on the 15th leg. We just need to make sure we're addressing the fact that the question wants the total distance, which is the distance on the first leg plus the distance on the next leg, and so on and so forth. Again, you could just add up all these numbers. That would be a completely fine strategy. But the other way to really make sure that we can do it correctly is simply the formula. We know that the first leg is 100. We know the last leg is 800 times. We know there's 15 legs divided by 2 for the formula. So we end up with 900 times 15 divided by 2, or 7.5 if you want to already do that. And we can see that it ends up being 6,750 miles. 6,750 miles is a reasonable answer. It does seem to make sense, which is always a good thing to check, just to be sure that we didn't go down the right track. Now again, there is certainly nothing wrong with simply typing all of those numbers into the calculator. Just because you have a formula doesn't always mean you have to use it. Some people, in fact, prefer not using formulas because the time it takes to learn the formula, write it down, check the answer, double check the answer, second guess yourself, might indeed be enough time to simply type in all the numbers in your calculator and get the same answer anyway. So again, it's personal preference, but either way, just remember that the question is asking for the total distance, so you always need to remember that you have to add up all of those terms, not just stop at the last one and think that's it.